twilight hours, voices sing tales of hope and heartbreak, everything a rhythmic blend of dreams and...
Hello everyone. First, thank you all for being here, for joining us today at the ISME Café Mistake Edition. And I believe that this is the first of 2026, right? I think this is the first ISME Café.
Wonderful.
Thank you, ISME and Ryan and Shri for organizing this space, which is created to share ideas, connect across borders and time zones, and strengthen the sense of community that has always been at the heart of our commission. As you know, each meeting is hosted by a different member of one of these committees and special interest groups. The main purpose of our meeting is to provide a platform for music education practitioners and students across the globe to share, discuss, and reflect on their experiences while learning from and with one another in an atmosphere of safety, trust, and mutual support. By participating in this meeting, we all agreed to and take responsibility for the following. We aim at creating a welcoming and inclusive environment. We accept and honor diverse perspectives. We cultivate a sense of belonging and trust. We cultivate open and honest communication. We foster the health and well-being of all participants. We listen, respond, and disagree respectfully and avoid judgmental statements towards others. Today, I'm fortunate to organize this ISME Café with the rest of Mr. Commissioners, Marcy from the United States, Wendy from Australia, Adam from Iceland, Linda from New Zealand, and Lechuan from Hong Kong. Thank you all for organizing this event. And together we organized as well, of course, you all know our pre-conference seminar in Montreal this summer from July 20 to 24. This year, Mr. turns 50, and we are ready to celebrate it. So for now, we're collecting photos from previous seminars, and later I will put the link on the chat. So if you have participated in previous spring conferences, please upload any group photos to the safe place we have created. And these photos will be used only during the seminar. So I will put the link on the chat later. Our upcoming seminar will take place in Montreal at the University of Quebec, organized by Isabel Herux and Valerie Peters, and of course, an excellent team of organizers. The theme is Access, Equity, and Innovation, Bridging the Future of Music Education. And we're preparing to engage in deep, thoughtful discussion about whose voices are heard, whose creativity is nurtured, and how we can build bridges between traditions and new ideas, between the local and the global, and between policy and practice. The topic we will discuss today is closely connected to our pre-conference theme. So, Marcy, can you please introduce the topic and warmly welcome our guest?
Yes, it is certainly my pleasure to introduce my friend and colleague, Dr. Rhonda Fuelberth. She's a professor of music education and the associate director at the University of Nebraska's Glencorf School of Music. Rhonda's research focuses on how real-world, community-based experiences help future music educators grow in confidence and skill when teaching inclusively. She is also the heartbeat behind the I2 choir. This choir is an inclusive intergenerational community choir that's been together for over 10 years. Today, oh, it looks like I'm frozen. There we go. Today, she will share valuable insights from her work that are sure to spark an engaging and thought-provoking discussion in this forum. Dr. Fuelberth, the meeting is yours to share your insights and perspective.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for having me. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. I'm so pleased to be here with you. And so I'm not distracted. I'm going to get right to that is where we are. Can you see the presentation slides? All right. So it is my hope to share with you some of the practice that we have put in place here at the University of Nebraska in helping our students become more inclusive practitioners when they go out into the field. A little bit of background, because I think it's good to see when an idea starts to take shape, and then you start to see it reflected in your community and then beyond that space. I started this work with this inclusive and intergenerational choir mainly to serve the Lincoln community and also to create a model for inclusivity in schools and in other places. I was finding that in our own teacher training program, was teaching in choral music education and music and special education contexts, and we would try to have students have inclusive experiences in schools. And when we placed them in the public schools, they would sometimes have an experience where they would encounter music making with individuals who have disabilities, but then other times we could not rely on the fact that they would have these experiences when they would go out into schools. So knowing that I still want to be teaching music, even though I have entered a chapter of life where I am working largely in administration, I went to a universally designed quilt museum that was on our East Campus and said, I have this idea. I would like to have more community engagement in inclusive practices and including individuals with and without disabilities in group singing contexts. And so I started this 14 years ago, and then gradually made a space, adding details of our mission as we progressed and as we grew. And then in about year 3, I said, we really need to see if we can get our music education students to engage with the choir and to have an experience where they are not responsible for teaching, but rather they are sitting next to individuals in the choir and actually having more of an immersive experience. So that's what I'm going to focus on today. I see that connects to the theme for the conference. I look forward to meeting you in person in Montreal. And I really wanted to outline I just wants to go backward for some reason. I think this is a good opportunity that these 2 studies in particular focus on undergraduate music students, how we could help them become more confident teachers of learners with a variety of abilities. My focus in the research studies was on their attitudes, their beliefs, their teaching intentions, and then self-efficacy of their ability to teach in inclusive settings. I mentioned this as a part of a broader context, and being able to see those ideas come into practice as the high schools that are in our community here have started to have unified choir experiences. So we're seeing those who participated, not only how their attitudes and ideas changed when they were students here, but then taking that to their school populations and engaging in inclusive practice there. I will say in the United States, we're also seeing movement in our choral organizations as there will be more integration of inclusive choral practices within organizations like NAFME and the American Choral Directors Association. So why this matters now? Well, it matters to the commission because you are having dialogue on this topic. But we know that in the United States, inclusion isn't peripheral. In the United States, the vast majority of students with disabilities are served in general education classrooms, and music educators are expected to teach in environments where learner variability is the norm. At the same time, our global and national conversations about equity in music education continue to highlight persistent barriers. Things like exclusionary definitions of musicianship, limited preparation for inclusive teaching, and a misalignment between university coursework and school realities. In the United States, these concerns are echoed through the Music Teacher Profession Initiative, which calls on music teacher programs to broaden their conceptions of musicianship, to strengthen preparation for diverse learners, and to build on sustainable ideas that can be carried forward into classrooms. So I'm going to share a little bit about two studies that we kind of focused on our pre-service teachers and their experiences as participants in the inclusive intergenerational choir that we have here at UNL. So the broad purpose, and I'm going to present these kind of together. They are both mixed methods, but I'm going to focus quite a bit on the qualitative side of both of these studies. So the purpose was to examine the impact of an immersive and inclusive experience on music educators' perceptions about inclusive education. We examined what type of pre-service classroom activities might lead to perceptions of self-efficacy for educators who will work with students with disabilities in school settings. So the broader question, how do immersive experiences influence participant empowerment? We think about that with our participants that are community members, some of whom I have worked with now for the 14 years that we have been together. How does this experience influence empowerment and autonomy, acceptance and belonging within educational and community settings? So I have these four populations, all singers are singers with identified disabilities, our broader community in Lincoln, Nebraska, and beyond that, and with a particular focus in these two studies on future music educators. So we have a few research questions related to beliefs, feelings, instructional intentions, meaning do I intend to try to foster inclusive practice in my own schools? And then to look for differences in self-efficacy for students, for teaching students with disabilities between our junior and senior students, meaning at different program stages, and then seniors who in a class on music and special education have an opportunity to choose either between doing the traditional pathway of writing a final paper on a specific topic or participating and performing with the immersive experience in the inclusive choir. So among those who participate in this immersive inclusive choir, how do they describe their experience as future music educators? And so we set out to do these things and worked primarily with a questionnaire in order to do that. We know that there has been, we have several studies that are have defined where we are with examining teacher attitudes toward working with individuals with disabilities. And through Van Welden and Whipple, we see forward progress in perceptions of inclusive music education practices. Music educators are thinking progressively, but sometimes there are some contrasting findings and thinking that, well, anything is better than nothing. We're having some practice within the school is important, but teachers still feel like they don't have always the skills in order to be able to be effective in their own classrooms. There are a few impacts for fieldwork and immersive experience, especially thinking about differences between medical models and social models of disability. In medical models where we may be trying to focus on finding a way to experience something close to normalcy, which focuses then instead from the medical model to say, we're going to try to fix this, whereas in a social model, we're not trying to do that. We're trying to help the person, the individual who is experiencing that educational environment experience their very best self in that moment and in that experience. So that is a large focus of what we have tried to do in this practice, and that reflects what is available to us in the work that I'm citing on the page. Draper and Bartolome discuss a social model of disability that argues that disability is imposed by societal barriers for people with impairments. And then in environments that intentionally create social interactions between individuals with and without disabilities, these barriers can be lowered to reduce judgment and increase positive interactions and understanding. Positive inclusion models are important for the attitudes of students within the programs, and that is demonstrated in the Johnson and Darrow 1997 resource that I have here, and are also just as important for the pre-service music educator. I think it has the clicking. I'm not even touching the screen. There we go. Let's come back. Sorry about that. There we are. It just wanted to go backward. Sorry about that. And these positive inclusion models are important for pre-service teachers being trained to develop and sustain inclusive classroom environments. When we use care with our terminology and potentially preemptively disabling beliefs and practices, and we discuss those and we put better practice in place, we are aligning better with a more positive result. And then we it's happening again. Thinking that we are thinking proactively about helping our students as pre-service teachers challenge their disabling beliefs to avoid the idea that they are trying to somehow be the savior or trying to reduce a power imbalance because it becomes a really important part of these immersive experiences. I know in my own work with I2 Choir, We try very hard to bring out the individual strengths of every member of the choir and to try to see the thing that is special about them, not related to their disability, but related to the way that they want to engage in the experience, and to try to make that a more of a shared ownership experience where you may choose as a participant, you may choose songs that we are going to sing. You might come to lead those songs. You are going to be as much a part of the trajectory forward of the ensemble as you are a more passive participant. In these studies, we had two cohorts of participants, 35 that were designated by stage in their degree program, our juniors and our seniors. In the first stage, we compared juniors at the end of the academic year, where they had no previous experience or coursework related to music and disability. And then we looked at seniors at the same point in time who had had a class on music and special education with two options for completing the requirements of the class. So they were self-selected, which adds some challenge in terms of our analysis, but that's where the second of the studies came into place, because we were able to examine the same participants at the end of their junior year and then at the end of this senior experience. And that has yielded some really interesting results. So quantitative data collection was using the multidimensional attitudes toward inclusive education survey, and that examines components of attitude and then also places those contexts into a larger concept of inclusion. There were 17 junior level students, and they were enrolled in the semester prior. And then we examined senior responses between those who elected to participate in the immersive experience and those who plan to do the traditional completion. In the qualitative data collection, we examined I actually did not do the coding for this. Graduate students did, as I asked them to try to separate as best they could their experience with me and their experience with the ensemble. And so they coded free response essays that were completed by participants in the immersive experience. A little bit about the choir that was the focus. The purpose of I2 Choir is multifaceted. We want opportunities for singers in the community and the university communities to come together and to have meaningful musical experiences as the center of the program. It is our intention that audience members connect to the power of their own voices and that they consider using those voices to advocate, to act, and to promote access, inclusion, unity, and diversity within our communities. So there are some pictures of the choir. We are open to individuals who can sing as well as those who want to sing, and they join in cross-age or cross-ability groups. We want singers to come with someone else that they know so that there is a feeling of safety, but very quickly then reaching out to others that are in the ensemble. And having that sense of safety, but also reaching out and making new connections. And we hope that we are able to encourage that participation by friends and family members and those who would like to support individuals and friends who have a variety of physical, sensory, or cognitive differences. A central mission of the iTrue Choir project is to provide a model for inclusive singing. And as I kind of think about models, I think about images, and the image that was initially on this slide kind of shows segregation to preliminary steps of inclusion, to more of a sense of being involved in the group, but I was still dissatisfied with those images because there is a sense of othering that is still a part of those diagrams. And so in the day of our ability to use AI, I asked Adobe Stock AI to create a better image of what we hope to create in terms of what inclusive practice might look like. And of course, I needed to make that look a little like a choir. So that kind of gives a conceptual understanding of what we are hoping to achieve. Any model like this also benefits from being very much rooted in a framework for planning instruction. And so one of the goals that I intend to carry out with the class that I teach is that they learn to integrate principles, guidelines, and strategies for what in the US is universal design for learning. And that is outlined in the diagram that you are seeing. So we have multiple activities that are all framed around engagement. How do we work toward developing student interest and capitalizing on those? How do we represent musical materials? How do we vary action and expression? So engagement, I may ask individuals what kind of theme they might want to explore for a semester, what songs come to mind that are associated with that theme, and bring some of those favorite pieces or ideas directly from the singers themselves. For representation, we may work with alternate notation. That's a secondary interest of mine. How do we help promote literacy and in all of its ways? Oral literacy, visual literacy in terms of being able to read musical notation. And then action and expression. How does this person become their best musical self and approach that identity, whether it's through singing or playing an instrument, engaging with an iPad, but finding their very best way of participating in the ensemble. I love doing sessions on universal design, but I'm going to just show a couple of examples. On the left-hand side of the screen, I very frequently use hand signs and solfege. It has become our language to try to move notation from the air to symbols on the page, to notation that you would find in traditional black and white music on the page. So we work through a system of notation alterations, whether we are just learning patterns in the air or learning a specific part to, I work with choral singers, so this is a baseline example of color coding and use of solfege that we may all focus in that direction, working through our various parts and then bringing those together. But I thought I'd show one example and then also kind of our space. This is actually our new space here in our new building, and having a larger screen, it doesn't quite do it justice. It's a very large screen that we, not that visual is always the UDL element that we are exploring, but this is one. So we may have someone who on the left-hand side needs text only, and on the right-hand side, we can see another level of engagement. Or we may be looking at a specific place in the music, and we use some color-coded different notation, which I don't put up in that level of complexity initially, but one line at a time. And that helps us a great deal while we are learning. So we examined differences between the juniors and the seniors in their beliefs and their inclusive attitudes. So this measure is taken apart into subdomains of beliefs, feelings, teaching intentions, and then there is a total score. While there was no significant difference between individuals in the I2 choir, those who participated in, I think there must be someone who is right behind me who's clicking on my slides. But we looked at differences. In terms of beliefs, there were some significant differences between beliefs between juniors and seniors. Really what we were seeing is that their teaching intentions, there's not a lot of increase there. We have a generally a student body that is very much committed to inclusion in their even in that early kind of stage of their junior year. But this table one represents a summary of participant responses, and our sample is divided into the juniors who had not yet taken the class and the seniors who had taken the class. There were not significant differences between attitude scores, except we did see some differences between beliefs and feelings. Separate analysis looked for differences between the seniors who participated in the immersive experience and those who wrote an in-depth report. And there were no significant differences found in the attitudes measures. However, between the junior and the senior year, we did see differences between students' self-efficacy or their perception that they will be effective, inclusive practitioners. So that was a very interesting finding to say it is good that we are seeing a lot of progress in students' perception that I am going to be able to do this when I get out into schools. It didn't matter. It didn't seem to matter that there were differences between that there were differences between their attitudes, but that self-efficacy is a really important element. Do I feel like I could do this? Do I want to do this when I become an educator? And so we are happy to see that no matter what the context of that course, whether you are doing the immersive experience or you are doing the traditional model, we are still seeing an increase in their perceptions that they can do it. Where it did get interesting, however, was looking at the qualitative portion of all of this. So under the theme of teaching strategies, individuals noted that they were happy to see universal design principles carried out and to see that in a real world kind of context, and that was very empowering for them. There were two major themes related to teaching strategies. All participants referred to the usefulness of UDL, naming these strategies specifically in their reflections or describing them without directly naming them. And an important kind of takeaway of that, as one student said, I feel more prepared to work with students with exceptionalities, especially since I got to see just how unique each person is. And I feel I learned more about UDL in learning and teaching through this choir. Lastly, many students wrote about how the I2 choir experience contributed to their general music education teaching philosophy, and to say that being a part of that experience really changed the way that they thought about the value of music education in the lives of the students that they will work with. So one participant saying, being a part of this ensemble has relit the flame and passion I have for music education. This is a lesson that can't be taught in any classroom. So we learned a great deal from these qualitative findings, and that is the same in the second study, and I'm going to show that. In the second study, there are some significant differences when looking at the same population over that period of time, and that is exciting to see. A welcoming environment and acceptance. We were all learning from each other. No one had a part in the section more important than the other, and we all felt comfortable sharing. They spoke about their language, our use of language within the environment, and our expressions of value and gratitude. They were pleased to have been a part of I2 Choir and stated things like, experiential learning has been the most influential for me this semester, and I appreciate that this was no exception. I'm going to jump to the second study and look a little bit look at the thematic findings so I have the theme, an analytic description, and then some exemplar quotes. So themes of belonging and psychological safety came to the fore. They wrote frequently about the feeling of safety, a welcoming environment that was characterized by trust and care and interpersonal connection. With a few from their own words, I felt extremely welcomed in I2 Choir. And then students that identified I missed a rehearsal, and someone noticed and said, "I missed you," and they were very much aware of the students' presence in the ensemble. Several mentioned UDL principles again, and in fact, that was reflected in almost every one of these essays. And they were very specific about how they saw multiple means of representation, engagement, and expression that were embedded in the instruction, noting that there was always an option for how participants would read notation and to hear things orally. The third, inclusive language and dignity, and that was in choice of instructional language, not really to do with disability-related language, but more in the language of action. So instructional language that emphasizes choice and dignity and respect. For example, rise up, whatever that means to you, instead of standing up or sitting up, that rising up was a part of how we would use that kind of language. Agency, voice, and leadership. Participants contribute strengths through leadership and creative roles, and that students were able to showcase their own talents. Further going into examples of one of the members of the choir being able to play their harmonica in a piece that wasn't written for choir and harmonica, but that individual brought that in, and that was honored and valued and part of the experience. Several wrote about joy, about the joy of music making, with many comments about many who wrote about coming to the fourth year of a university music experience and feeling like they have been so focused on precision and perfection and all of the things that senior music majors may encounter, and that being in a space that really was reducing performance pressure and really about experiencing joy through their music making was very enlightening. Each rehearsal felt like a celebration of music. They also spoke about their teaching identity and transformation, that their participation, even if the quantitative results were not always pointing at that, they spoke about their participation and how that reshaped their value and their ideas about teaching and inclusion, with several stating that they felt changed as educators, and one specifically saying, "This experience completely changed my approach to teaching," which is really powerful to hear. That is the intention. There are a number of implications of both of these studies, that it's important that we have coursework that is specifically focused on working with students with exceptionalities, and that there may be some significant impacts on pre-service teacher self-efficacy. There were significant differences and improvements in both of these studies between the junior year and then after having that coursework. I mean, as an instructor of said course, we hope that there is an impact of the course that we teach, but the manner in which there is an impact is important. Students who participated in the immersive I2 choir experience reported increased comfortability, firsthand experience with the benefits of UDL, and reinforced teaching philosophies. And many report a desire to replicate that experience in their future, either as a participant or through the creation of a unified choir type experience, and several of those experiencing those in their student teaching. And they felt empowered to carry those forward into their own communities. So that is, there were several graduate students who were instrumental in this study. It is an ensemble that I work with, and so I was a part of some of the quantitative analysis, but really the graduate students managed the qualitative side of this in both studies, and I'm very interested in hearing how those kinds of experiences might impact your own teacher training. If you have immersive experiences for students, whether those are, and we designate that kind of differently as immersive experience, meaning you are not responsible as teacher, but that we are ensured that you experience being a member of an intentionally inclusive program. But I'm curious about your programs and also how you think that might be replicated, or that you might foster those kinds of experiences in order for us to consider how that might have an impact on helping students feel more empowered in their own in-service chapters. That has an impact on pre-service teaching, but also in the first 5 years, which are both part of the NAFME blueprint looking forward. So I'll open the floor to some questions related to that, or observations, things that you're thinking about. And then we'll determine whether we decide to go to some small breakout spaces.
Thank you, Rhoda, so much for the inspired presentation. Could you please
Yes.
stop sharing the screen?
Yep.
So if there is any quick question, you can put it on the chat. Before starting,
trouble doing that.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's okay.
there it is.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Ellen, for your comment. The duration of the research is a question from Olga.
Yes. So in the first study, so there are two parts to this, with one shared population between the two studies. So in the first study, it was one-time completion of the Medes inventory, and then the reflections, the essays on which the qualitative analysis, that took place at the end of the semester for those who participated in the immersive experience.
Okay, thank you. Another question from Larissa. How was self-efficacy measured? Did the measure have self-efficacy questions, or was attitude used as a proxy for self-efficacy?
Yeah, actually, it was a very one open-ended question. How I need to have the exact wording, but how confident are you in your ability to work with individuals in inclusive settings? And it was a slider scale. In Qualtrics, there are sliding scale questions, and that there was a singular focused question on perceptions of your own ability to be an effective inclusive practitioner.
Thank you. Another question, did you have any students who said they would be less comfortable after having this experience?
Incredibly, no. We really did not. I think that may have something to do. I'm very curious about why that is. And one of the reasons that I think the immersive experience, without being responsible to teach, we open the door to having individuals work with the choir if they wanted to. But I think the low low pressure. I just get an opportunity to come in and sing with the ensemble. Gave a different perception than it would have to necessarily be in charge of the situation. But really, no one indicated that that there was always a higher number for each individual participant.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Those are great questions.
Yeah, okay, true. I have a question.
Yeah.
What limitations aroused when the teachers attempted to design inclusive immersive experiences?
So what limitations?
Yeah.
Well, I think there are always, this is a bit of a lab type environment where we are proactively attempting to plan for instruction using purposefully having the framework of universal design at its center. Limitations, we do not ask individuals who are participating in the ensemble questions about their specific disabilities. So this is something that we learn through our encounters and by asking questions of the community members who are participating. And so I think one of the limitations, just in that context, not limitations in the formal sense of research, but not everything that we try is going to work for every individual. And so we are consistently trying to vary how we are presenting information or how individuals are showing what they know. And we do that by monitoring individual interactions. And so if we see an individual respond in a different way than we might be expecting, we try to bring that action and expression out. But it is always experimental and trying to think of what might work for every participant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you. There is another interesting question. Were all students completely verbal?
Not every participant is completely verbal. And we have varied our response to that based on how the individual communicates in the rest of their life outside of the choir. We have a number of individuals who may integrate or communicate using an iPad or another voice output device. And so we would try to bring that in or have someone participate using an application like Thumb Jam or where they're using touch or another way to play a musical instrument, non-traditional musical instrument, or someone may be moving to the music, but we definitely do have individuals who participate in the choir who are nonverbal. And fabulous graduate student Will Green, who is here in the meeting, has focused some of his work on nonverbal students and how we better engage and how we create these kinds of meaningful experiences. Yeah, I'm seeing Catherine, I'm seeing your question about the topic. I'm a teacher working with ages 5 to 18 with physical disability and thought that immersive experience described a way to teach music to school students, not teach future teachers. Actually, we are attempting to do both of those things to create a model for inclusive practice. Because we were talking about teacher preparation and the way that we engage and to help foster successful experiences in school settings and in other teaching settings. We are trying to help students move from a place of I am unsure of my ability to teach individuals with a variety of disabilities to how do I feel like I can do it, that I have the tools that I need, that I have the knowledge that I need, and moving forward in that way. So the big question around accessibility. So Catherine is asking, many of my students are non-speaking, and I wonder if you've experienced using keyword sign in the choir for members who don't sing using vocal sounds. I want to make sure I'm understanding the keyword sign. Catherine, are you on? Would you tell us a little bit about that?
She's here.
Yep.
Her microphone is on.
Not to put you on the spot, but
in Australia, keyword sign is sort of like we have Auslan, the sign language that used by the deaf community, but keyword sign is sort of keywords using those hand signs.
Yeah.
So simplified for students with disability.
Absolutely. Actually, we do incorporate quite a bit of that. Our final piece that we have a theme song, Draw the Circle by Mark Miller, and every individual does what I believe you're referring to as keyword sign. So it isn't ASL. They are American Sign Language signs, but really in specific places. So drawing the circle wide. And we have several members who do not communicate using sign language outside of the choir, but have had a lot of fascination with utilizing signing in choir and have kind of gone on their own to create their own signs. And I mean, that's yet another dimension of this that has been very interesting to me. We were doing Fight Song, Rachel Platten's Fight Song. And so there is a powerful scene in an American television show, Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, that is entirely done using sign. And that was fascinating to me and to several of our members. And now they've taken that a step further, and that becomes another element of action and expression in universal design framework. And so, yes, we do quite a bit of signing. We use hand signs and solfege as we are thinking about differentiating pitch, but yes, all of those ways, or moving to the music. So yeah, that's a great question. Let's see. Looking at
Yeah, Tanish, if I pronounce the name right. I'm just curious to know whether where are any pre-service music teachers who are unable differently who participate in the study? What was their experience like?
Yeah. That is something that I would like to explore moving forward in the study. We did look at close contact. I haven't done as much with this analysis yet, but those individuals who participated who identified as having a specific disability, and then also those who had a close family member or friend. That did not have any, there was no difference in, I may have anticipated that based on previous research, but there was no significant difference between my own self-identity or identity of having a friend or family member on these attitude scores in the Métis. But we certainly did have individuals write about their own lived experience with disability in the essays that were used for analysis. So that is a component. And they did not write a great deal about their experiences through that lens, but rather that there was one responder who wrote about how they wish they would have had this kind of approach to notation reading when they were younger, or even during their freshman year of college, because there were several things about using the solfege and the color-coded notation, the abstract representation of notation, or using that formula, that they said it really made a lot of ideas click for me. And one participant did write about that. Did you have people who did the traditional capstone experience reach out to be involved later based on their peers' positive reactions to the experience? Yeah, we open the choir to any university participant, but I think they have the idea that they can only participate in their senior year. So we hope to have that to allow for more of that. Almost every participant who chooses the immersive experience says, I'm planning to come back next semester. And when I'm student teaching, I'm going to come back on Sundays. And we have had several individuals come back while they are teaching in the community and participate in the choir. But they, like many others, when they are student teaching, we rehearse on Sunday afternoons. And so When Sunday afternoon comes around, they are sometimes, trying to get ready for the next week, but I often hear from those individuals, speaking about how that had an impact on them, and that they are working to, I guess, from the not associated with the study, but one of the most gratifying things is when I'm hearing of the choirs or instrumental ensembles that they are creating in schools, even if they weren't there before, because of the experience that they had while they were university students. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Catherine, that's a great question. Yeah. Are you planning to do a follow-up project a couple of years after graduation to see how this immersive experience has helped your students out in the world? Absolutely. I think that is one of the really important questions. I'll mention one thing also about Will. Stay tuned for some really interesting work for the individuals. I have focused mainly on pre-service education and the impact of these immersive experiences on students' idea that they are going to be successful. Will is examining participant experiences in belonging and dimensions of belonging, and so he's not. He's in the middle of that research. I'm excited to see what he finds, but he will be working with the individuals in the ensemble who identify as having disabilities, and then community participants who do not have that identification.
Yeah. I'd like to ask a question which extends, to the research you just presented.
Yeah.
What do you think that they are the initial steps, or, some pieces of advice for a music teacher who wants to include these kind of activities?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I think is important is to not feel like you need to do something entirely different in order to open a door to accessibility. If you start a program and you don't have all of these tools at your disposal, all of these visual tools or movement tools or all of the universal design tools there, I think get started with the notion that participating in music, and I think the value of participating in music together is a way that everyone can experience that success early on. The goals for individuals with and without disabilities may be entirely different, your goals for those who participate. But be open to the idea that you do not have to be an expert in the field of special education or in working with individuals with disabilities in order to be more open in your own thinking and your own planning for becoming an inclusive practitioner. There is a tennis shoe brand, Nike, in the United States that may appear in your countries, and the Nike motto is "Just do it," and that's one of the things that I think those are 3 words of good advice. Try something, build a toolkit. One of the other things that students in the class, the music and special education class, they take a lesson plan that they have previously taught, and then they are asked to apply universal design principles in representation, in expression, and engagement, and then to teach the lesson to their classmates, and then hopefully to teach that in their practicum placements. And I have noticed that their ideas are they're brilliant, but we don't have to have all of that worked out in order to have a good first day working toward inclusion.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Of course.
We have, we all have the idea that our first day should be the best. And of course, it's impossible to be happening.
Yeah. Or if you would like to try some of, would like to take a look. I think sharing in our profession, sharing is caring. And I have a lot of materials that I would be more than happy to share with anyone who asks for that. Some materials that have been developed over these 14 years of working in that area. The alternate notation is particularly interesting to me. One example of one of our participants, he plays almost everything just by ear. It's a skill that I do not have to the degree, and I am a longtime musician, but I do not process music in the same way that he does. And so he will come and play before and after, play the piano before and after rehearsal. Individual singers will come up and sing whatever he's playing, but his notation reading has been fairly non-existent prior to being in the I2 choir. And then these steps toward using different notation symbols, that has really shifted. He wants to be able to read notation, and so that is really empowering in a different way. Although his musicianship is fabulous with or without being able to read notation in traditional kinds of ways. I get a little excited talking about the group. We have changed in thinking about engagement. One would think that maybe it would be a good idea for this person to accompany something that we sing. That didn't work as well, but having him record his own version of a piece of music, and then I listen to that and create an arrangement for the choir so that they can sing along with his version of the piece. That's kind of what I mean by engagement. And so that's something that we really enjoy trying to see. What is it that's unique about an individual, and how can we bring that into the fabric of what we are doing so that we can empower each individual. Yeah. Great.
Thank you. Thank you all so much.
If you, I am happy to share my email with this group. If you would like to look at these materials, I will just say they are they are put together by me or students that have been here. But I do have some folders that I can share of sessions focused on implementation of universal design that I'd be happy to share. That is a little outside the scope of this presentation, but I think that is part of it, is taking some of the mystery out of what we do and creating a set of tools that will be empowering. And so when students create these lessons, I say share them with each other so that you begin to accumulate a toolbox that you can use in your classrooms. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Is there any student that wants to share thoughts or experiences or feedback or whatever? Feel free.
Please.
Just turn on your microphone and share your ideas. William, I think you are ready.
No, I get the privilege to work with Dr. Fuelberth here at the University of Nebraska, Lincoln, and we're doing a lot of work with this group and excited for the future to come with this research ahead.
Okay. Could you share with us a good point and a challenge you faced during the research?
Yeah, this is research that one of our seminar classes, so these are PhD students who are engaged with the seminar. I have developed the instructional model of this choir, but there's a part of me that would like to be able to stand over here and then be the researcher. This provided that opportunity, but I also have to acknowledge that I am immersed in this myself. And so having the graduate students kind of take over the research element, and especially in the qualitative part of the analysis, it was challenging to say, please do not, please bring out all of the elements of what they say to get the students to really be honest about their participation. I said, I'm not going to look at this set of essays because I would like you to be more free in your response. And so that is challenging. I would like to study another similar program in another place. But what I was finding as a practitioner, as a music teacher educator, is that finding a consistent model for students to actually see what this could look like is tricky. And so I could have some control over how we action, how we create the environment where that is at the center. We are purposefully adjusting what we do, not for the purpose of the performance, but of the purpose of the learning and the community engagement. And so I would say stepping aside in terms of research, that's why I'm excited that someone like Will, or there have actually been a couple of studies where others from other institutions have come in and studied an aspect of our program, like the feeling of safety or belonging. And so that is the biggest challenge, because I know that there could be some real impact on additional programs that engage their music teacher educators to be, or music teachers to be, that if we were able to provide more experiences where they have a face-to-face, Judith Jellison talks about consistent and continued face-to-face contact, where disability does not become something outside of my realm of experience, but rather part of my lived experience. And that, I think that's where the self-efficacy, there are many ways to study self-efficacy. We chose a very simple one single question. I would like to dive into that with much more rigor in the way that we approach it. But to say, how confident are you in your ability to work with individuals with disabilities, I think is a powerful question. And to see that perception of your own ability as a future teacher increase as substantially as we did in the study, even with a year difference. So that the second study looks at the same group of students. So one at the same point in the academic year. So the second study looked at seniors at the end of their first semester, and then juniors at the end of their first semester. And so that same group of individuals, to be able to see there is a substantial difference between your not only your sense of your perception that you will be successful, but also on a couple of those dimensions, attitude dimensions is really powerful.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for your generosity to share your email with us.
Pleasure.
So you can file Rhonda's email on the chat. I think that we can continue this discussion during the ISME conference and during Mistec Print conference, of course. So thank you all for joining us today, and looking forward to meeting you all in Montreal.
Yes.
Right?
Thank you so much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to have a chance to visit with all
It's
of
our
you.
honor, Rhoda. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, let's stop recording, maybe.